My name is Gift and I'm 17 years old. I was born blind. Not the kind where you see shadows or light, nothing at all. Just darkness every single day for 17 years. My mom always said God had a plan, but honestly I got tired of hearing that. What kind of plan keeps a kid from seeing a sunset or her mom's face? I went to regular school with help from teachers and had friends who treated me normal. But deep down I always felt different. Like there was something missing that I couldn't quite name. Not just my sight, something deeper. Then I had the dream. Before we continue, please let me know where you're listening from. It would be nice to feel closer, even if we're physically apart. Also, don't forget to like. It will help this video to reach so many people who need to listen to this testimony, and leave a comment. Share your thoughts about this testimony. Let's have a fair and open discussion so we can learn from each other here on this channel, and don't forget to subscribe for more of this content coming your way. Enjoy listening. It was a Tuesday night in March. I dreamed I was standing in a huge room filled with golden light. A man walked toward me wearing simple robes. His face was kind, but his eyes held power that made me want to fall down. "Gift," he said, and his voice echoed in my chest. "I am Daniel. The Lord has heard your prayers." I wanted to tell him I hadn't been praying much lately, but something about his presence made me stay quiet. "Fast for 21 days as I did by the river. Eat no pleasant food. Drink only water. On the 21st day your eyes will be open to see what few can see." "You mean I'll get my sight back?" I asked. He smiled. "You will see things as they truly are. But Gift, with great sight comes great responsibility. Are you willing?" I woke up with my heart pounding. The dream felt more real than anything I'd ever experienced. I could still smell the golden air and hear Daniel's voice. At breakfast, I told my mom about it. She nearly choked on her coffee. "Gift, honey, that's just a dream. You can't stop eating for 3 weeks. You'll get sick." But something inside me knew this was different. This wasn't some random dream. This was God speaking. "Mom, I have to do this. I can feel it in my spirit." She argued with me for an hour, called our pastor, called our family doctor. Everyone said the same thing: it was dangerous and probably just my teenage brain wanting attention. But I started the fast anyway. The first 3 days were the hardest. My stomach felt like it was eating itself. I drank water and prayed, but mostly I just lay in bed trying not to think about food. My mom brought me soup and crackers begging me to eat something. "Just a little bit, Gift. God doesn't want you to hurt yourself." By day 7 something shifted. The hunger pains went away and I felt lighter. Not just physically but spiritually. Like I was floating above my normal life. I spent hours praying and reading my Bible through audiobooks. Verses I'd heard 100 times suddenly made perfect sense. My mom was worried sick. She kept taking my temperature and checking my pulse. Our pastor came over twice trying to convince me to stop. "Gift, this isn't biblical," he said. "You're taking one story from the Old Testament and making it about yourself. That's dangerous." But I knew in my heart this was right. Every day I felt more connected to God than ever before. Like I was climbing a spiritual mountain and getting closer to something amazing. On day 14, my mom took me to see Dr. Martinez. He ran blood tests and checked my vital signs. "She's losing too much weight," he told my mom right in front of me. "If she doesn't start eating soon, we'll have to put her in the hospital." "I'm fine," I said. "I feel better than I have in years." Dr. Martinez looked at me like I was crazy. "Gift, you're 17. Your body is still growing. This kind of extreme fasting can cause permanent damage." I understood their concern, but they didn't understand what was happening to me. This wasn't about losing weight or getting attention. This was about obedience to something bigger than myself. By day 18, I felt like I was living in 2 worlds. The physical world where I was weak and tired, and the spiritual world where I felt more alive than ever. My prayers felt like real conversations with God. Sometimes I'd pray for hours without realizing how much time had passed. On day 20, my mom was crying at breakfast. "Please, Gift," she begged. "Just eat something small. Piece of toast. An apple." anything. Looking back, I feel bad for what I put her through. She was scared she was going to lose her daughter. But I knew I was exactly where I needed to be. Day 21 came on a Saturday. I woke up feeling different. Not hungry or tired, but expectant. Like something big was about to happen. I was sitting in my bedroom praying when it started. First, I felt warmth behind my eyelids. Then tiny sparks of light began dancing in the darkness. My heart started racing. "Mom!" I called out. "Something's happening." She ran into my room and I heard her gasp. "Gift, your eyes." I reached up and touched my face. My eyes felt warm like they were glowing. Then suddenly light. Real light flooding into my eyes for the first time in my life. I blinked and the world exploded into colors I had no names for. I saw my room. My bed with the purple comforter my mom described to me so many times. The window with sunlight streaming through. And my mom standing in the doorway with tears streaming down her face. "I can see you," I whispered. "Mom, I can see you." She was more beautiful than I had ever imagined. Brown hair with gray streaks. Kind eyes behind wire glasses. Laugh lines around her mouth from 17 years of smiling at jokes I told. We cried and hugged for probably 20 minutes. Then we called everyone we knew. Dr. Martinez wanted to see me immediately. Our pastor rushed over. Word spread through our small town like wildfire. But that night, alone in my room, I discovered my sight was different than normal sight. I was looking out my window at the street when I saw something that made my blood run cold. There was Mr. Peterson from down the block stumbling home from Murphy's bar like he did every Friday night. But behind him walked a creature that looked like shadow given form. It had long claws and glowing red eyes, and it was whispering in Mr. Peterson's ear. I rubbed my eyes thinking I was seeing things. But the creature was still there, still whispering, still leading Mr. Peterson toward his house where I knew his wife and kids were waiting. The next morning, I saw Mrs. Chun from the grocery store walking with a similar creature. This one was smaller but just as dark. It kept pointing toward the pharmacy where I knew she bought pills for her back pain. By Sunday, I realized what was happening. I could see demons. Not all the time and not around everyone, but around people who were trapped in addictions or doing things that hurt themselves and others. At church that morning, I saw them everywhere. Dark shapes hovering around certain people, whispering lies, feeding off their pain and sin. I tried to tell my mom, but she thought I was having hallucinations from the fasting. "Honey, you've been through a lot," she said. "Maybe these are just side effects." Our pastor was even less helpful. "Gift, God gave you back your sight," he said after I pulled him aside. "Don't ruin this blessing by claiming to see things that aren't there." But I knew what I was seeing was real. These creatures were real, and they were destroying people's lives. That night, I was praying desperately for answers when my room filled with the same golden light from my dream. But this time, the figure who appeared wasn't Daniel. This being was taller than any human. His face shone like the sun, and he had 6 wings that moved like liquid light. When he spoke, my whole room vibrated. "Fear not, Gift," he said in a voice like thunder and music combined. "I am Michael. The Lord has chosen you to see what is hidden from others." I fell to my knees. I couldn't even look directly at him. "Why me?" I managed to whisper. "Because you were willing to fast and pray when others would not. Because your heart seeks truth more than comfort. And because the time has come for war. War. The enemy has grown bold in this generation. He sends his servants openly now, knowing that few can see them. But you can see them, Gift. And I will give you a weapon to fight them." Michael reached out and touched my forehead. Immediately words began flowing into my mind. Not English words, but something older and more powerful. Words that seemed to burn as they settled into my memory. "This is the prayer of binding," Michael said. "Speak these words and the demons must flee. But be warned, using this prayer will mark you as their enemy. They will come for you with everything they have." "I don't care," I said, and I meant it. "I've seen what they're doing to people. I have to help." Michael smiled, and for a moment his terrible glory softened into something almost gentle. Then go with the Lord's blessing. But remember, the prayer only works with pure faith and a clean heart. Doubt or sin will make it powerless. The light faded and I was alone. But the words remained burning in my mind like they were written in fire. The next day I decided to test the prayer. I saw Mrs. Chun at the store again with her demon whispering about pills and escape from pain. I walked up to her pretending to shop but really getting close enough to pray. I whispered the prayer in my mind. The words felt like lightning flowing through me. The demon looked up sharply and hissed. Then it dissolved like smoke in the wind. Mrs. Chun blinked and looked around confused. For the first time in months, her eyes looked clear. She put down the magazine she'd been reading about celebrity drug scandals and walked toward the healthy food section instead. It worked. The prayer actually worked. Over the next week, I started using it whenever I saw demons around people. The results were immediate and amazing. Mr. Peterson went 3 days without drinking. Jenny Martinez, who'd been cutting herself, stopped carrying razors. Tom Bradley, who'd been stealing from his job, suddenly confessed to his boss and offered to pay everything back. But the demons started noticing me too. At first, it was just angry looks. Then they started following me around town. Dark shapes trailing behind me wherever I went. My sleep became restless. I'd wake up feeling like something had been watching me all night. Then they started getting more aggressive. I was walking home from school when 3 of them cornered me in an alley. They couldn't touch me directly, but they threw trash cans and made the air so cold I could see my breath. "Stop interfering, girl," one of them hissed. "This is not your fight." "Yes, it is," I said back. Then I spoke the prayer loud and clear. They screamed and vanished, but I knew this was just the beginning. Word about what was happening started spreading. Some people thought I was a miracle. Others thought I was having a breakdown. Dr. Martinez wanted to run more tests. Our pastor asked me to stop coming to church because I was causing disruption. But the people I'd helped knew something real was happening. They started coming to me asking for prayer, asking for help with their addictions and problems. That's when the demons decided to make their move. It was a Friday night and I was praying in my room when every demon in town seemed to show up at once. My room filled with shadows and the temperature dropped 20 degrees. The walls started shaking and I heard voices speaking in languages I didn't understand. But in the middle of all that chaos, I heard Michael's voice. "Now, gift. Pray now with everything you have." I stood up and spoke the prayer of binding louder than I'd ever spoken it before. But this time I didn't just whisper it, I commanded it. The effect was incredible. Light exploded from my mouth as I spoke each word. The demons didn't just disappear. They were thrown back like they'd been hit by lightning. Some of them actually caught fire as they fled. The shaking stopped. The cold lifted. And suddenly I realized I could hear something new. People all over town were waking up. I looked out my window and saw lights coming on in houses everywhere. People were stepping outside, looking around like they'd just woken up from a long dream. Mrs. Chun was on her porch throwing away a bottle of pills. Mr. Peterson was hugging his wife and kids. All over town, people were making phone calls apologizing for things they'd done, choosing to get help, choosing to change. It was like the whole town had been under a spell that suddenly broke. The next morning, our church was packed fuller than it had ever been. People who hadn't been to church in years showed up wanting to pray and get right with God. Our pastor, who'd been skeptical about me, was crying at the altar asking for forgiveness. Dr. Martinez came to our house that afternoon. He ran every test he could think of and couldn't find any medical explanation for how I got my sight back. "Gift," he said finally, "I don't understand what happened to you, but I can't deny that it's real. That was 6 months ago. I still see demons sometimes, but not as many. It's like most of them learned to stay away from our town. The prayer of binding still works when I need it, but I don't have to use it as often. Some people still think I'm crazy. That's okay. I know what I experienced and I know what I saw. God gave me sight not just to see the physical world, but to see the spiritual battle happening all around us. My mom supports me now. She's seen too many changed lives to doubt anymore. Our pastor asked me to share my story with other churches. Even Dr. Martinez refers people to me sometimes when medical treatment isn't helping their problems. But the most important thing I learned is this: God is real and He's still working miracles today. He's still calling people to fast and pray and believe for impossible things. He's still fighting for us against forces we can't always see. The enemy wants us to think we're powerless, that addiction and depression and sin are just part of life we have to accept. But that's a lie. God has given us authority and power to fight back. We just have to be willing to pay the price in prayer and fasting and faith. I'm 18 now and planning to go to Bible college next year. I want to learn more about spiritual warfare and help other people discover the power God has given us. Because if He could use a blind teenager from a small town to push back darkness, then He can use anybody. Don't let anyone tell you that miracles don't happen anymore. Don't let anyone convince you that the supernatural isn't real. God is looking for people who will believe Him enough to fast and pray and fight for the things that matter. Maybe you're listening to this and feeling hopeless about something in your life. Maybe you've got an addiction or a problem that seems too big to overcome. I want you to know that there's hope. There's power available to you that's greater than any demon or any darkness. It might require sacrifice. It might require people thinking you're crazy for a while. But God is faithful and He will show up for those who seek Him with their whole hearts. 6 months ago, I was a blind girl who felt powerless and forgotten. Today, I'm a warrior in God's army with sight that sees beyond the physical world. If God can do that for me, He can do incredible things for you too. You just have to be willing to believe and take the first step of faith. Thank you for listening. If you have been blessed, please like this video. It will help YouTube to show it to more audience who need to hear about these testimonies today. Also share this video to your loved ones. It will be a great way to communicate Christ to others, and that will be the greatest gift you can give to those that you love. If you are yet to subscribe to our channel, please do so. It's free and it's a way of joining this great community of believers. Join us today and your life will not remain the same. Until next time, remain blessed.